And I'm also recording this video just to let everyone know that is definitely happening. So I am going to share my screen because oh crap. I'm going to share my screen because I know what I'm doing, right? I'm great with technology. And wait, what? I share my screen. What does that mean? What can you all see right now? Can you see my screen? Can you see?
Your emails are open.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Does it say there's a PowerPoint presentation? Can you see know your rights, positive interactions with the police with your names across the bottom?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your patience. One thing that I do not do well with is technology. So one of the main focuses of this lecture series is to, one, let everyone know about tools that they have available to them. And secondly, to get folks linked with services. Now, I would like to start off by saying that, again, this is recorded. Our co-host, attorney Laurent Bankston, is a criminal lawyer here in town. And so I'd like to start off by saying, if you do have any criminal matters you'd like him to resolve, he is here to represent you. And here you can see his logo right on our screen. You can give him a call at Bankston Law Office. You can give him a call at 419-474-8963. And so Attorney Manor and Attorney Bankston are here to answer any questions you may have. And we are going to get the ball rolling, okay? So I first would like to start off by saying that there are 3 levels of police interaction. And here in the state of Ohio, though you're not required to show your physical ID, remember, whenever you're approached by law enforcement, please, you are required to state your legal name, your address, and your birthday. And there are 3 levels to that. The first level of police interaction is just a regular stop, right? The law enforcement does not need a reason to stop you. You're not required to stay. You're not required to talk except for stating your name, your address, and your birthday. And you're not required to share your identification. And the standards for search are consent and plain sight. The second level to police interaction is reasonable, is detention. And for that, you're required to have reasonable suspicion, if I could talk, because I said suspension, reasonable suspicion, right? And reasonable suspicion is more than just a hunch, right? It's not just, oh, I think I should, no, it's more than that. The officer should look to specific reasonable inferences in which the officer is entitled to draw from facts in light of the experience. You are required to stay. And we'll talk about later how important it is for you as someone that's interacting with the police to be sure what level you're interacting with the police. Are you required to talk? No, besides identifying yourself. Are you required to show an ID? No, you're not, right? And the standards for search are consent, which is you saying verbally, yes, I consent to you looking after they've asked or not. Plain sight, and a frisk, a stop and frisk. And the third level is an arrest. You are not free to leave, okay? The legal standard for an arrest is probable cause. Probable cause is the legal basis that allows police to arrest someone, conduct a search, or seize property. This requirement comes from the 4th Amendment of the Constitution, okay? And it states that the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses,
kind of breaking up right now.
Am I breaking up? Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll start over with the 4th Amendment. The right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, effects against unreasonable search and seizure should not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath and affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be searched. So at minimum, in order for a court to issue a warrant, it must be supported by a showing of probable cause. And to get a warrant, an officer will sign an affidavit stating the facts that they know from their own observation or for observations of citizens or police informants. These facts support their claim that probable cause exists to conduct a search, seize property, or make an arrest. Okay, and next, are you required to talk? No, except for what we already talked about, name, address, and birthday. Are you required to show ID? No, but it might take a little longer for you to be released if you don't have an ID, a document identifying yourself. And the standards for a search are consent, plain sight, frisk, or warrant. And you have rights, okay? So you should exercise them. You should use them. We've already talked about the need to give officers your name, address, and birth date when asked. If you're stopped, the first question you should ask is, am I free to go? Am I free to leave, right? You should do so immediately. And if you are not free to leave, you are being detained. You should ask for a lawyer immediately upon your arrest. You have the right to remain silent, but simply remaining silent is not enough. You must clearly tell the police officer that you are invoking your right to silence. Be precise. Do not leave room for error. Say something clearly like, I'm asserting my right to remain silent. And then you must remain silent. Do not start again. Courts have time and time again found that if you say I have the right to remain silent and you're invoking your right to silence, and then you start speaking again, you're no longer being silent, right? You're consenting to speak. Remember that anything you say or do can be used against you. And this is not legal advice. This is just good advice, right? We want everyone that's having any interaction with law enforcement to come out safely and alive. Please think carefully and intentionally about your words, your body language, your movements, and your expression of emotion. Do not threaten that you're going to file a complaint or lawsuit. Don't lie to the police. Don't argue with the police. Don't touch the police, and don't run from the police. And this keep records. Everything happens so fast, right? This includes the request to stop recording. If you're wrong, it can be discussed in court, and we want everyone to get out of every police encounter alive. Please keep notes, write down everything. These events happen rather quickly. Write down officers' badge numbers, write down patrol car numbers, write down witness contact information like names, email addresses, and addresses, and phone numbers. Take photographs of injuries, property damage immediately, and please receive any medical attention necessary if you've been harmed. According to Ohio law, nothing shall be construed to prohibit a person from using video or audio recording equipment to record a law enforcement officer in the performance of their duties. Police can threaten to take your phone and smash it, etc. Please keep in mind, when you're recording incidences, be sure not to record a civilian or yourself breaking the law. Not only are you recording officers, you're likely recording everything that's happening around you. You can be recording and creating evidence that'll be used later. And do not consent to searches, right? Even if they say something like you don't have anything to hide, whatever, don't consent to searches. Don't consent to any search to yourself, not your cell phone or other electronics. Do not consent to searches of your house or dwelling. Consenting to searches can affect your rights down the line. If the police say they have a search warrant, ask to see it. And do not interfere or obstruct with the police. You can be arrested if you do. Again, we want everyone to get out of every police interaction alive. What happens if you're stopped with questioning? Again, please provide your name, address, and birthday if the law enforcement asks you. Failure to do so can lead to arrest. You are not required to offer state-issued ID, even though it's a good idea to do so. You may refuse to answer any additional questions by invoking your right to silence. Police may pat down your clothing if they suspect that you are carrying a weapon. You may not physically resist. Clearly state that you do not consent to any search. And if you are placed under arrest, you have the right to know why you're being arrested. What happens if you're stopped in the car? The driver must show valid driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance upon request. Please keep the documents together where you can quickly grab them, and then please keep your hands where the police can see them. Passengers might have to provide name, birthday, and address upon request. An officer may be able to search your car without a warrant if the police have reason to believe that criminal activity is likely taking place. If you have been involved in a crime, or if evidence of the crime is in your car. Please make it clear though, still make it very clear that you do not consent to a search. If the stop leads to an arrest, the police may search the area of your car that is within your reach at the time of the arrest. Officers may search your vehicle if they believe it contains evidence related to your arrest. Plain view, plain touch, and plain smell doctrines often allow officers to search and seize evidence not in a search warrant if all three conditions are met. 1, police are lawfully in a position to observe an item firsthand. 2, the police inadvertently discovered the object. And 3, the incriminating nature of the object was immediately apparent. If you are given a ticket, sign it. Otherwise, you can be arrested. You can object to the ticket later in court. What happens if you're suspected of driving under the influence? If you're suspected of driving OVI, police may require a driver to take a physical test, a chemical test, or both. If the driver refuses to take the test, the driver's license will be suspended immediately. If you fail the test and are over the limit, your license will be suspended immediately. You may appeal license suspension later in court. And if you have a prior OVI and refuse to test, you may face increased penalties if convicted. What happens if a police officer comes to my home? If the police ask to enter your home, you do not have to admit them. You do not have to give them permission to enter your home unless they have a warrant signed by a judge. Do not invite agents or officers into your home. Do not answer questions. Tell them you do not wish to speak with them and tell them your lawyer will contact them on your behalf. Please contact a lawyer, okay? Step outside, pull the door behind you so the interior of your home is not visible. Get their contact information, business card, etc., and go back inside. And remember, you have the right to remain silent. Invoke it. In some emergency situations, if a person is screaming for help inside the home, or if there's a police chase and a suspect runs into your home, officers are allowed to enter and search your home without a warrant. The police may also enter your home without a warrant if the police have approached your home, identify themselves, and hear sounds or activity that lead to them to believe evidence is being destroyed. If you are arrested, police can search the area close by, which includes the room you're in. Police do need a warrant to search other rooms in your house. And please make it clear that you do not consent to a search. What if the police threaten me with a warrant or a grand jury subpoena if I don't answer their questions? Do not speak, remain silent, and do not volunteer to speak. If they're going to subpoena you to go to court and testify about information you may have, they'll get a subpoena anyway, or they'll get a warrant anyway. If they are going to get a warrant, they'll get one. You do not need to volunteer information or volunteer them to do those things. Invoke your right to remain silent. Please request to speak to an attorney and do not consent to any searches. There's a common theme here, right? Grand jury proceedings are different than testifying in trial though. In grand jury proceedings, you are not allowed to have a lawyer present inside the room, although one may wait in the hallway for you and answer, and you may consult the lawyer after each question. You may be asked to answer questions about your activities and associations. And remember, receiving a grand jury subpoena doesn't necessarily mean you are suspected of a crime. It is imperative that you contact an attorney if you receive a grand jury subpoena. So what do I do if I'm taken into custody, right? Remember, clearly invoke your right to remain silent and to remain silent. Tell the police nothing but your name, address, and date of birth if requested. Ask to speak to a lawyer. If you can't afford a lawyer, one will be appointed to you. Ask the police if you can, how you can contact a lawyer. Do not speak without your lawyer present. This is very important. Within a reasonable time after your booking or arrest, you have the right to make a local call to a lawyer, bail bondsperson, a relative, etc. Police cannot listen to conversations between you and a lawyer. However, other phone calls may be recorded, and those conversations could potentially be used against you later in court. You are entitled to be taken before a judge on the next court day after you are charged. Sometimes you can be released without bail or have bail lowered. Talk to your lawyer about the possibilities. And do not make any decisions without talking to a lawyer. Remember, I'm going to remain silent. I want to speak to my lawyer. I do not consent to a search. And some questions that I often hear are like, if children have any rights. Do I have any rights if I'm under the age of 18? Yes, you do. Absolutely. You have the right to remain silent. You may be required to give your name, address, and birthday if asked. If you are arrested, you have right to counsel. When released, you will be released to your parent or guardian, though. School officials can search students' belongings and lockers without a warrant if they reasonably suspect that they are involved in criminal activity, carrying drugs or weapons. And remember, this is not legal advice. And please remember, TikTok is not legal advice. YouTube is not legal advice. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of that, not legal advice, okay? Just, this is not it, no. Ain't nothing in this world free. That includes the free information receiving on Instagram and TikTok, okay? Please remember to keep proper identification on your person. Always be cool and calm and collected. Exercise your rights. The goal is for every encounter with law enforcement, for everyone to end, to walk away alive and unharmed. Please determine if you're free to leave. Be clear. Clearly state, I'm going to remain silent. I want to speak to my lawyer and I do not consent to a search. And that is all I have prepared so far. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. No questions? All right.